And we return to Aktieportföljen live. We are guested now by oodash and it's Arli Mujkic who will present here. Hello, Arlo.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I'll simply hand over the word to you, and I'll come back in a little bit to ask a few questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jonathan. So, my name is Arli Mujkic, and I'm here today to present to you oodash. Observe, orient, decide, and act. ODA, hence where the name comes from. I'll get back to that in a minute. So, maybe a little bit on my background. So, who's here in front of you today speaking and presenting? So, my name is Arli Charles Mujkic. I'm the CEO and founder of oodash. I've been in tech actually now for over 30 years. And you might wonder how that works with my age. Well, I actually started coding very early on. Originally from Bosnia, came to Sweden in '93. Was lucky enough to get in contact with the computers for the first time in Sweden, where I, of course, as all kids, as my two daughters, started playing games, started becoming very curious about how to build my own games. And that's how I went on Alta Vista and wrote how to make game. And this is how I entered into the world of programming with the first programming language of being QBasic. So started building my first game, coding on at school, and at home, unfortunately, we couldn't afford a computer in the beginning, so I had to type everything in or write everything in by pen and paper, and then type everything in 3 times a week until I got my first game coding. So kind of started from an analog way into the digital world, a little bit of a different start, if you compare to how many other people start today coding. Anyways, there I was, 7 years old, started my first game. After it was finished, I got help from the school to continue on coding, supported me with the computer, which I'm unbelievably thankful for. And also that's what I think puts Sweden aside, being very forefront on innovation, but also supporting young people to follow their passion and so on. So if we fast forward a little bit, 2D coding became into 3D coding. I went into 3D games, and after a while, I started developing a 3D engine called TrueVision 3D together with Sylvain Dupont and John Hart in the US, which became my first company at the age of 14. So this is actually the point when I knew, I remember it very clearly, what I wanted to do the rest of my life. I wanted to build software because that's the first time I actually started making money on software. So with TrueVision 3D, we were developing a 3D real-time rendering engine, which was being used by many different game developers, Round One at BBC, a lot of the quiz games on BBC that you might have seen, and so on and so on. So quite advanced programming already at the age of 14. So this kind of propelled me into the more advanced side of technology. If we jump forward a little bit after that, I started my second company when I started studying at University of Linköping's Universitet, which was an anti-fraud engine. So I built a 2-factor authentication 2007, and was sold after about 7-8 months to a company. So that's when I made my first exit, just about to turn 20. After that, I realized, okay, I want to become a serial entrepreneur. So I've been building companies now for the past 20 years. Before oodash, we built Epti, which was a company builder, grew it from the very beginning to over 250 employees in 9 countries, with a portfolio of over 20 companies, focusing all on tech. This is where we are the strongest, and was a great journey that we've been having, and developing a lot in AI, and that's kind of how we ended up following all of the trends in AI in the past 10 years. Of course, today everybody knows about AI, but we've been hands-on in developing some of the most fascinating things already in the past couple of years, which led us to where we are today. Today, I'm the CEO and founder of oodash, and we focus on AI and the future of technology. So I'm very happy to be here today to be presenting to you a little bit more about what we do, what our product is. So let's just get right into it. So oodash, a Nasdaq-listed AI software as a service company. So we have headquarters here in Munich, where I am, and also in Stockholm, as you can see from my 2 paintings here behind me. We're also tradable. We're trading on Nasdaq Stockholm First North, but also as well in Frankfurt and Stuttgart. So we are focusing a lot on the Scandinavian and the DACH market. Of course, the platform being completely international can be used by anybody anywhere in the world. So what is the purpose of oodash? Well, to put it very simply, we transform decision making by allowing companies to talk and chat directly with their business data. We sometimes very simply say it's a GPT for business data. So today, many, if not everybody, knows about ChatGPT, or at least has heard about it. So imagine an enterprise version of that connecting to all your data sources to help you with your decision making. So what is the problem that we're actually solving? So today, companies are facing an abundance of data. So many of you might even have your own experience of it, that you have data in one database here. You might have some software as a service tools on another end, systems everywhere, different dashboards, often unstructured and in overload. And this prevents stakeholders, decision makers, team leaders, etc., to actually observe and orient properly within this data, because it's just too much and everywhere, to make better decisions and act in time. This is also known as data blindness. Back in 2000, early 2000, data blindness was we have no data. Today, we have too much data. So essentially becoming the same thing, right? So how do we solve this? So we've developed an AI-powered OODA loop, hence the name oodash. An OODA loop is an observe, orient, and decide and act loop. It's a military cycle, a cycle developed by military strategist and the US Air Force Colonel John Boyd, actually one of the most famous military strategists of all time in the US. So what is this loop about? If we take a look a little bit about it, it's about being able to observe, gathering data in the most efficient way as possible into the decision flow. After that, the second step is orienting, to reflect what has been found during these observations and considering what should be done next. Now, deciding on the best potential action response plan, and then, of course, acting out. So this was developed as a military strategy, as I mentioned, but during the 80s. But after that, a lot of S&P 500 companies started using this kind of decision-making flow. But of course, with humans involved, which would mean that you have a chain of humans where you need to gather the data, where you need to aggregate the data, where they need to gather reports and so on, making it often very slow and not stronger than the weakest link, of course. Kind of like the whisper game. If you ask for something, it goes around, or you tell somebody something goes around, it comes back as a different word. So what we did is we kept this same OODA loop, but we made it AI powered. So we removed the access to data with humans and instead put an AI instead, so you can talk to it like it is a human, but you actually access it directly. What we have then done is developed a business intelligence platform with over 300 plus data sources. And I'm just going to show you a live demo here, a little bit about the product and tell you. So when you log in, you can see, first of all, it starts to look like any typical business intelligence platform out there. You have your dashboards, you can add new elements to it, graphs, KPIs, etc. But here's where it gets a little bit interesting. So you can add multiple sources, over 300. So all you can imagine, from Dropbox, Teams, Slack, Jira, GitHub, etc., etc. Also native databases, of course. Then you can also import all of the people that are using these kind of different tools within your organization, turn on and off which sources they're using. And then you simply go into our AI chat and you start chatting off directly away with your data. So here's an example to say hello. You don't have to say hello, but it's nice to say, okay, it says to you back, how can I assist you in driving business decisions? Then you tell it as an example, show me the top 3 projects that had most tickets done in the last year. Now, in this example, it's an IT consultancy firm with real data. Of course, it's anonymized, and it's showing you how fast it can actually gather and show you the information. Show us the top 3 most active people in our tools, across all tools. Okay, these are the top 10. And here's a summary of the top 3. All of these dashboards that you can see, all of these graphs that you can see, you can add to existing dashboards, to new dashboards, export the dashboards, share the chats, making it very easy to make better decision-making instantly, right? If we look at this here as an example, what day of the week is their least activity? All right, it would be then, if we look at the table, Friday. But maybe you want to break it down and say, what are the most active periods when broken down by hour? Which makes it even more interesting, which is an in-context question, just a follow-up question. It breaks it down in nice graphs and says, of course, it's Fridays. That's when people are least active. But now you get it per each day. Again, summarized in natural text, so you can use it for your reports, add it to your dashboards, make better decisions. Here's an example where you can ask, if you were, for example, IT consultancy, where did we have least code commits? Who made most code commits? or what times did most code commits happen. A code commit is when you push code to a server. You can see it clearly here. Code commit starts at 8 o'clock. Peak is at 12:01. Of course, people going to lunch, but there's also somebody working, for example, at night. So you can really see all of this information. Really, the sky is the limit. This is just an example. This is completely data agnostic. This is for an IT consultancy, but it can be used for e-commerce. It can be used for any other type of business that you want as well. So if we continue now to the next slide, just to summarize it again a little bit. So how does it work? You have your real-time data aggregation down to 1 hour where we import data. So we support all of the most popular software as a service tools out there. It can go to any choice of your servers. So it's completely server agnostic, on-premise, any cloud you select, your own servers, which I will come back in a minute. You then go in and say a prompt, what time is the least work done? This is an answer. You do an M follow-up question, break it down by hour, you get M follow-up answer. Not more complicated than that, actually. So if we start talking a little bit about the infrastructure, so how is this all built and what makes us unique from, for example, otherwise? So first of all, we are using servers with the secure and GDPR compliant data centers, both in Stockholm and in Nuremberg in Germany. We also have at any given point access to over 250 NVIDIA chips, strong chips that can run all of the latest large language models for secure self-hosted AI solutions. That means if a big company that is worried about data, where is their data being used? No problem. Our AI is being hosted directly on your servers in a secure environment of your choosing, which means that the actual brain, the actual large language model, the actual AI is being run on the enterprise infrastructure. And this is quite unique. So we use today different self-hosted type of open source large language models from Meta, Llama. We have from France, Mistral AI, and we also use Falcon. These are just 3 examples of AI models, and we continue to keep fine-tuning them. We continue to add new ones as we see them fit, but always those that are data secure, GDPR compliant, and can work in the data centers we are using. A little bit of a technical side, but just to give you a little bit of an example, what exactly are we building out? So if you look at a company IT systems on the left side, what we do is that we build out an AI data lakehouse. A data lakehouse means we can store, very simply put, structured. Okay, everybody can store structured, but here comes the magic: unstructured and semi-structured data in the same lake. So that's where it becomes a little bit interesting, because once this data comes in aggregated from existing or new automation systems, whichever it's coming in, and then we're storing it for being able to query it through our AI query gateway, which means that we have an AI business intelligence platform that we're using it, but it also opens up for future AI systems to directly tie into your existing systems through our AI data lakehouse. A little bit technical, but could be interesting for some of you out there. So to summarize a bit, what we do, our services. So we have oodash expert services where we help companies with their AI vision, strategy, education, AI literacy, training, and to equip them with the competency that they need to improve their efficiency by leveraging AI. Of course, on top of that, as I just showed you, we have 3 different products in our platform: the data lakehouse, which connects to all corporate IT systems, over 300 data sources, and more can be added. Custom ones can be added. A query gateway, which allows other type of AI systems out there to integrate directly to the data sources you've integrated through us. And a business intelligence platform, which I just showed you a demo of, where you can directly go in, chat away with your data, create dashboards, set up alarms, put notifications in, and et cetera, et cetera. That's a little bit short about what we do and the technology we provide. To mention a little bit, so who's using it today? We wanted to bring up a Sergel customer case where we are working with the Sergel Group management across all Nordic countries. And we've helped them through our expert services in building out their AI vision, strategy, and implementation. And this is a great way for us to go in as well with expert services, because a lot of companies today don't know actually at what end to start off with when it comes to AI. And after that, we become the natural step into implementing the oodash platform products. This is just a simple example. You can also feel free to take a look at the Sergel Nordic AI Talks if you search it up, where we were the keynote speak. where also Christine was talking about sustainability and AI sustainability, and Henrik Lönnevie from the CEO of Xetra was as well there talking about potentially AI in the future, how managing data and so on. Very, very interesting. I recommend everybody to take a look. So market size, just to mention a few seconds about that, I think everybody understands that it's truly, truly growing. And I think it's going to grow even more than what we see today from the studies. If we look at AI, we're truly talking about a moment that's as big as the internet, if you ask me. We're talking a moment that's bigger than the iPhone. So of course, the market is huge, and we will grow with it, as well as grow very on our own, and as well with the market, right? So don't have to go into numbers. You can see it there yourself. It's quite big. Going in a little bit on the financing side, to look at oodash. So oodash started off in Q3 2023. That's why these are the focused ones in the profit and loss. And we can see that from Q3 to Q1, we have 689,000 euros in income and 342,000 euros in EBITDA. So a good start in the last 6 months on the last 2 reports, which I recommend everybody to take a look at. If we look at the balance sheet, we have a total asset side of 13.95 million euros, so almost 40 million. And we're trading currently per yesterday's closing at 90% net asset value discount to that number. We've been able to reduce the debt by 60%. So the equity ratio is over 70% currently if we look at the balance sheet. And the interest-bearing liabilities is divided between only 0.64 million into actually debt to credit institution, and the rest is bridge loans. A little bit about our legal structure. So oodash Group is listed, as I mentioned, in Nasdaq in Sweden, also tradable in Germany. There are 2 operational companies, of course, opening up for future partnership companies along the line in different countries and regions. Currently, we have oodash Germany GmbH, oodash Sweden AB, and we also have Aktieportfo, where we hold holdings in 3 very, very interesting companies, which are also using our platform, where we are helping them as well with the AI services. These companies amount to about 10 million in financial assets on our balance sheet. A little bit about the team. We have an amazing pan-European management combined of people from Munich and Stockholm, as well as Zagreb. Also, to mention a little bit about our board, fantastic, amazing board with Sebastian Hirsch as chairman of the board, Michaela Berglund, CEO and founder and owner of Feminvest, and Jesper Kärrbrink as well as a board member previously at Mr. Green, and quite amazing board, I have to say, and team. That's it. That's a little bit what I wanted to talk about. I think that I am on, should be pretty much on time, I think, at 20 minutes. So it's a lot of AI things to put in there in only 20 minutes, but I hope I was able to get through and do a good presentation.
Thank you very much, Arli. You're right on time, as you said. I want to talk to you about your latest quarterly report. To begin with, you write that 25% of Swedish companies are currently investing in generative AI, while the figure to compare to is 43% worldwide. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think that we have gotten a little bit, let's say, Sweden is third in world in terms of digital competency, third. And that, of course, we have been for quite some time in the top. So I think that we already feel that we are quite advanced, quite ahead. And, you know, we're living quite a digital life in Sweden compared to many other countries. So I think that this kind of puts us into a mode where we don't feel the urgency to really do that much when it comes in terms of AI, as many other companies see it being a big leap from a more analog, let's say, daily life. So I think that could be an answer. And I think that I'm hoping that we will, of course, catch up as well in Sweden. And I see that there's a lot of movement. And I think that a lot of companies like ours and others out there being started doing great innovation in Sweden will, of course, speed up the process of other Swedish companies starting investing. But I think that could be one of the reasons, simply because we've been so advanced when it comes to on the digital side, that we kind of are not moving fast enough now in AI compared to many other countries.
How would you describe the saturation of your market?
In what way would you like to
well,
elaborate?
In terms of competition, for instance.
Okay, so that's a very good question. So what I think is exciting about this market when it comes to transforming decision making for companies. So there is room for plenty of champions. What I see right now that we're one and only, to say the least, listed one, but also that are complying to European regulation law. Right? So there is a lot of out there that are building things with, for example, OpenAI or Claude or other types of AI solutions. But in the end, nothing of this will be GDPR, or as they say in German as well, Datenschutz compliant, because in the end, if you're a big company, if you're where you have financial licenses, like for example with example as Sergel, working with financial data as well, etc., you need to have something that you can say, look, I want it to be hosted on our data center, I want it to be here on our cloud, and I want to be able to go in and look exactly what's happening. So from that point of view, we're completely unique about doing that. We're also completely unique in what I believe is democratizing the access to these kind of AI investments by being a listed company, whereas all of the other movers within AI are mostly private companies, which means that retail investors cannot really access investing in them because of this.
With the AI market sort of heating up in the wake of generative AI, I'm also curious to know how you would describe the competition today versus how it was, say, 1 or 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's a very great question. So one of the reasons that we have such an advance compared to everybody else is that we started building out this tool for our own use when we were building in Epti, because we had 250 employees in 9 countries, right? So we have an advance in building this for over 2 years. And in terms of that, we've been developing very fast in the last year. We can, of course, see that there are movements being made, but I still think we are year 2 advanced in ahead. And with the markets where we're working on, especially with the focus on secure GDPR secure infrastructure, I think that it's moving much faster. Of course, 1 year ago with ChatGPT coming out, everybody started wanting to build something. Then they start building some prototypes, and then they start selling off the products and prototypes. Then comes compliance, then comes legal in and say, you cannot do that. Data is going to OpenAI, data is going there and here. Okay, so now they have to go back, start to rebuild everything again. We built it from the start in that way. So I think that, other companies are picking up the speed, but I think a lot of them have to go back to rebuild some of the things to be according to European law, for example. So this gives us an edge, a big edge, of course, because we are off the shelf ready to go and rolling out 17 pilot customers now as we speak.
And where do you think we are headed, say, in 1 to 5 years? How do you think the market will look?
I think the adoption to AI, some countries will take a much quicker adoption. I think some countries will take a longer one, as always with everything. I think we're headed very fast. If you look at where we are today, including our product or any other AI product, we have a saying in AI, this is the worst it will ever be, and it's quite good already today. So I think we're going to see quite advancement in the next coming years, but it's still going to be our focus on companies where they have already big infrastructures with different data sources, etc. Even if it's moving fast, we're going to see new startups coming up. The other companies existing today, from manufacturing to e-commerce companies and you name it, which are our clients, they're still going to be there the next amount of years. AI will not suddenly replace logistics. It's not going to replace the need to market overnight for e-commerce companies and how they work. So you will still have people, replacing maybe other people. The people using AI will replacing other people not using AI. And so tools like ours being used by people will increase productivity, increase bottom lines, increase top lines for companies. But I think we're going to see a much faster development and adoption of tools and tools being built in the next 3 to 5 years. 5 years is a long time looking ahead in the future when it comes to AI. So it's very hard to say where we will be then. But I think it will be definitely an exciting time going forward, as it was when the internet came. So yeah, that's what I think.
When a new customer is acquired or a business just starting their sort of stake in AI development, a business that traditionally didn't use AI, what is the biggest challenge you face when working with those customers?
It is about, we have a product that's off the shelf ready, but it doesn't automatically mean that they're ready to use it always, because it all depends a little bit on, okay, what can I use this for? I've heard about AI, but I don't know yet how to use it. So one of the things we go in and do, of course, with the product is that we go in with our expert services and we increase the AI literacy and competency within the company. And we help them with the vision, strategy, mission. Where do they want to go? Do they want to focus on investing AI for internal improvements, efficiencies? Do they want to invest in AI for end customer facing products? Do they want to do both? The challenges we see is that they don't really know in the beginning, so we have to kind of help them, which means that we have to also go in a little bit within their business. Of course, that's good for us. We have lots of work to do, which is good for the company. But I think that over time, as more and more companies from different industries start onboarding on this, using it like we have now from finance companies, e-commerce companies, IT studios, media agencies, etc., you can kind of see that this is now getting less and less for each time we go in there. You can already see that the companies are more aware about these kind of tools and what AI is doing. But also, of course, we are coming with more and more materials ready for each customer. So we can really see the cost of onboarding and the time of onboarding going down for each customer. This gives us really the scalability as well in terms of scaling to many new customers. We don't need to set up things by hand. And we have automated a lot of the things. Of course, we are as well using AI for our own development. So we can really see that we have an economy of scale here when it comes to the tech as well, with IP knowledge. And the challenges we are facing today are getting less and less for each customer we onboard, as they are also getting more aware about AI.
Does your large language model, LLM, does it have any degrees of randomness in it? And if so, how do you work to minimize it?
So that's a very good question. So what we do is that we, when it comes to the data sources, as I mentioned before, it was an infrastructure slide. We combine aggregating that into different types of databases. So we both have vector databases, we have our embeddings, which we look at the data. But in the end, when it comes to the raw figure data, we are storing it as well in rational databases, which means that we always double check. We can double check it with queries on the other end. Of course, you should never always trust an AI to the 100% fullest. But the way that we build the things is that if you're chatting to it to ask it questions like I showed you, these are backed up still by traditional, let's say, query validated checks on the data that's coming out. It's not that we're just giving it a bunch of text and say, hey, tell us what you think about it. No, we're using it in different ways. Of course, that's our secret sauce, but we're using the AI in a different way in terms of when you ask it a question to figure out what is it that you actually want. Based on that, when we figure out that, we then know where to look and how to query, using, of course, meta AI data, using vector databases and other things available to us to bring you that information out. Now, if you tell us, no, this is not what I was looking for, thumbs up, thumbs down, give us feedback, we auto-improve. So we, of course, fine-tune the model. So we might, even if we are using the open models out there, we're also putting our own fine-tuning on top, which means that we're creating our own IP on top of, let's say, Llama as an example. Then we have a version of our model, which is Llama oodash version. So we can then train each new Llama version that comes out with our own data set, making it extremely unique to us and having a big value in terms of the corporate world, business world, with the questions and answers, by getting feedback from our customers on where it did good, where it did not do good. So we improve over time. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did, and I'm afraid we're out of time. But Arli Mujkic, thank you very much for being here and presenting for us here at Aktieportföljen.
Of course. Thank you.